Hey folks, today I have the pleasure to host Shril. He's shared technical services at Databricks. Hi Shril,
Hey, Yusuf. Thanks for having me.
how are you doing?
Yep, I'm doing good. How are you?
All good. And I have a question for you. I know we're getting straight to the point. How can I easily monitor the security health of all my workspaces over time?
That's a great question. And I have one answer for you, and that is SAT, or Security Analysis Tool. And today we're going to sort of walk through what SAT is at a high level, dive into how you can deploy it, what some of the individual components of SAT are, and how you can get the most value out of monitoring the security posture of both your Databricks account as well as all of your Databricks workspaces on all three clouds.
This is amazing. So we actually have a tool that can help us do the
Yeah, exactly. It's a tool built by the field security teams, and it's used by a bunch of customers today to sort of get a holistic view of the security health of your entire Databricks environments, everything from network security to data governance to identity and access management. And we're constantly evolving the tool as more and more features come out to help you get the most value out of SAT.
And what are the main components of the SAT?
Yes. Historically, when we first deployed SAT and developed it, it was mostly focused on the security posture of your environments. Is my environment following best practices that Databricks has put out? Says um, deploying in a private link enabled workspace, having proper network isolation and stuff like that. But we've noticed that as the platform has evolved and we have more and more features coming out, we sort of determined that we need to adopt SAT to fit the modern age of Databricks. So now we have more components on SAT, such as secret scanning. If you scan all of your notebooks on the Databricks environment, SAT is going to tell you where you have hard-coded personal access tokens and secrets or any tokens or secrets that we have available. Those are going to be flagged by SAT across your entire workspaces. And most recently, we also deployed a permissions analysis tool. So this is basically an easy way for users on Databricks to get a holistic view of their entire security landscape, everything from resource and permissions analysis for Unity Catalog to who has access to my environments, who has access to spin up compute. So it's an easy way. It's deployed as a Databricks app. So if you have an admin or any security individual needs to perform an audit on your Databricks landscape, they can run the permissions analysis tool to get a whole holistic view of your permissions.
And I guess you have some slides maybe to walk us through?
Yeah, definitely. Yep. So I'm going to share a couple of slides just walking through SAT at a high level, and then we can sort of walk through a demo showcasing SAT.
That's amazing.
Okay. So diving into security analysis tool, it's an easy way to monitor the security health of your workspaces. At Databricks Security, we have three pillars. So we have define, deploy, and monitor. When it comes to define, we have our security best practices documentations and white papers, which are publicly available on the Databricks Trust and Security website. So it's an easy way to sort of understand what are the different controls and practices that you should have in place when it comes to administering Databricks at scale. The next component is actually deployment. So how can cloud infrastructure admins and security teams sort of deploy Databricks according to best practices right from the get-go? And for that, we have our security reference architecture Terraform templates, which are publicly available for all three clouds, and it's sort of the most secure and scalable way to deploy Databricks today. And then finally, for monitoring, this is where security analysis tool comes into play. Sort of how can you get a holistic view of your Databricks environment as more and more features are coming out, as more practitioners are onboarded onto Databricks? How can you make sure that you are always following the best practices for Databricks and proactively stay on top of any threats that could possibly arise? So those are the three pillars, and we're going to focus mostly on security analysis tool. The number one question that a lot of customers and security teams ask is, how do I know if I'm following Databricks security best practices? And in the world of AI and new agentic workflows, this ask is always getting more and more popular. And our answer is deploy and monitor and use the security analysis tool because it makes monitoring the security health of your Databricks account and workspaces a lot easier. So the security analysis tool, historically, it was only composed of the component here on the left, security best practices. So when SAT was first developed and published, it was really focused on monitoring your workspace against the different security checks that we had in place. But over time, as our platform has become more and more evolved, as new features are arising, we determined that we needed to keep up with all those different features. So we recently developed the secret scanning functionality, which basically helps to scan your workspaces for any hard-coded secrets and tokens in both of your Databricks notebooks, as well as cluster configurations. And the most recent update that we've made to SAT includes that resource and permissions analysis tool. So it's sort of a centralized way for all of your admins and security teams to get a holistic view of the different access and resource permissions that every user and group has. Everything from Unity catalog to clusters to warehouses, all of that is covered by permissions analysis tool.
Yeah, and it's gonna be very helpful because sometimes many people can forget hard code and access token or path access token or maybe I don't know near Open API, Open AI or whatever
Exactly.
Anthropic
Yeah, exactly.
like
Yep.
access and then push
Yep.
it to a public repo and
Exactly.
then the security gets compromised.
Exactly. Yeah. And the secret scanning is not just for Databricks tokens. It uses Trufflehog's security detection engine underneath the hood. So any API key or token that it supports would be covered by secret scanning. So like you mentioned, Anthropic, GitHub keys, AWS tokens, anything like that would be scanned. Yeah, definitely. So this is just showing once you deploy and get SAT configured, you're going to get basically a AIBI dashboard that walks through at a high level what the different findings were, across all of your different workspaces. And I'll showcase this a little bit more hands-on. And then if you look at the detections, it's going to sort of show you like which detection was deviated, which one is following best practice. And then if one of them was flagged as being a deviation, it's going to show you the links to the documentations. Your admins or infrastructure teams can easily go in and fix those according to best practices that Databricks has. And this is just showcasing the secrets scanning dashboard. So it's another AIBI dashboard baked into SAT that sort of shows you all the different secrets that were detected, which workspace it's coming from, and it actually shows you the actual path to the notebook itself or the cluster as well. So you can easily go and remediate that before it ends up in a public repository. And this is the newest feature, the permissions analysis tool. So permissions analysis is deployed as a Databricks app. And basically, once you have the app up and running, then your users can just go in and sort of play around with the different features that we have, understand which users and groups have access to what, and we'll also showcase this in the demo. And this is just a call to action. So if you want to learn more about SAT, we have a link to our public documentation. SAT is available as a public GitHub repository. And if you have any feedback, you can definitely send it to our email, sat@databricks.com, or directly raise a issue on GitHub. So now I'm going to showcase the actual SAT tool itself. So now if I navigate over to my Databricks workspace, this is my Databricks environment that I've set SAT up on. This is a Azure environment, but SAT is available for both AWS, Azure, and GCP. So any cloud that you have, SAT will be supported. And when you install SAT, there's two options that you have. The first one is just a classic install.sh script that you can basically clone from a repository, and it uses Databricks asset bundles underneath the hood to deploy SAT. If you're more comfortable using infrastructure as code, we also have a Terraform way to deploy SAT. So on that repository, you can basically run the Terraform script that will basically install SAT on whatever environment that you want. So those are the two options that we have available. Very easy to install SAT. And once you have it installed, you'll see that underneath your jobs and pipelines, we'll have these four workflows that get created. The initializer is basically how SAT gets set up. It installs it installs a dashboard, it configures the API calls and everything like that. The driver notebook is what actually runs the API scans, so it actually populates the dashboard with all the security findings. And then secret scanning is how the secrets get scanned across your notebooks and clusters. And then permissions analysis is for the permissions and resource analysis app. Any questions on these different jobs?
No, I understand they will deploy for jobs, and I guess then the results are displayed in the AIBI.
Exactly. So now if I go back to my dashboard tab over here, um, let's take a look at this AIBI dashboard. So once SAT is populated, you're going to get this neat AIBI dashboard, sort of broken down into three main components. The first one is going to be like the high level executive summary. So this is really what like your C-suite leadership, your CISOs are going to care about. It's sort of like at a high level across all my different environments. What are the different findings? Just show me how many deviations I have. What can I do to quickly remediate them? So this is the executive summary page. Right now, SAT is only running on one workspace. And you can see here within this one workspace, I have 2 high deviations, 11 medium deviations, and 7 low ones. So sort of you can get a gauge as to like which ones should be P0s that we have to fix, which ones can we sort of put on the backlog and come back to fixing in the future. And if you go down, it's gonna break it down by like the different categories that we have. So the different categories could be network security. So are you following best practices when it comes to networking, such as using private link, IP access lists? Then we also have IAM. So are you using SSO? Are you using SCIM? Are you using RBAC, ABAC, stuff like that? And then data protection, so the actual data governance. So how are you storing your secrets? Do you have data exfiltration processes? Sort of everything related to data governance. And then specifically for governance, we also have checks to see, are you using cluster policies? Do you have audit logging configured? Have you disabled legacy access modes like DBFS and Hive? And then sort of the last one is just informational, such as like how many admins do you have? What are the different user privileges? How are your Git repos configured? So it's sort of a holistic coverage of everything that Databricks supports today.
And of course, we can also use Genie to ask those questions in case we are
Exactly.
lazy to walk through the dashboard.
Exactly. Yep. Genie is supported fully, so you can ask questions away. The next page is like that workspace drill down. So this is where you can sort of dive into each of the individual workspaces that were scanned, get a more drilled down view of what exactly is failing. And then, like I mentioned before, it's going to show you like the actual links to the documentation. So your admins can quickly go and remediate some of those findings. So these are the different checks that we have supported. We're constantly working on ways to find more checks, remove any checks that might be outdated with the new features that are coming on the platform. So this is sort of a baseline way for your security teams to understand the posture of your environment. So that's the workspace drill down page. And then sort of the last page is the secret scanning functionality. So like I mentioned, secret scanning scans both of your Databricks notebooks as well as cluster configurations. So in this one scan that I ran, I found that one of my secrets was exposed in a notebook. So SAT was able to find that. And if we select that workspace, it was found in this workspace over here. And it's going to show you where exactly that path to that notebook is so that you can quickly go and either remove that secret or disable it so that it doesn't end up in a public repository.
Okay,
So once this finishes loading, it's going to show you the path. And
yeah.
over here, we see that within this notebook over here, under this object path, there is a secret over here. So most likely, this is either a personal access token created by a user, or it's a service principals client secret that ended up. So you can quickly go and remediate this at the path over here. So that is the core SAT dashboard. But the newest component is our permissions analysis tool.
Yeah, the
So
Databricks app.
permissions analysis tool is deployed as a Databricks app. So if you see over here, this is basically the UI for that Databricks app. At a high level, it's going to show you all the different principal analysis, resource analysis, who has access to what within your Databricks environment. And once you run the scan for it, it's going to populate this app with data. So if I navigate over to principal analysis over here, we can see we can browse by our different users, groups, and service principals. So if I just click on all the different users that have access to my workspace, I can understand and see what they have access to. So right now, these are the only users that are added to my workspace. If I click on my name, for example, it's going to show me all the different resources that I have access to. So if I wanted to perform an audit or understand why a specific user has access to a catalog, for example, this is sort of an easy way to sort of gauge that and get a holistic view of it. So right now, I'm a workspace admin, so I basically have full permissions to see anything on Databricks. So it's going to show me everything that I have access to. And it's going to show me that I have all privileges on this catalog. So it's an easy way to sort of understand all the permissions that you have via it's a direct relationship, or if it's like a nested permission via like a group that you've inherited. So that's a principal analysis. You can also do a straight view of the resources. So all the different resources that are supported on Databricks, everything from Unity catalog to clusters to endpoints as well as secrets are supported. So you can quickly view and understand all of those resources. We also have functionality for escalation paths. So what is basically the amount of hops that it takes for a regular user to be escalated to the highest privilege persona on Databricks, which would be like an account or workspace admin. So you can sort of understand what your possible threat vectors are. If you just have like a contractor or a temporary person that's accessing your Databricks workspace, you want to make sure that they can't escalate to being a workspace or account admin unnecessarily. So this is sort of an easy way to sort of understand what is that path to escalation. We also support like impersonation. So you can basically discover how one entity can impersonate another one through various paths. So you can sort of play around with that and understand if someone should not have access to something that they shouldn't be able to view. And then we also have a bunch of built-in security reports. So everything from like who are the highest privileged users. So we can take a look here and we say that we have 6 workspace admins. Do we really need all 6 of those to be workspace admins? So you can sort of understand that. Who are the different catalog owners? And then you can sort of go and audit those individuals or groups. Isolated principals. So these are like principals with minimum connections. So these could be like individuals who are no longer at your company, no longer added to the workspace, but they still have ownership of certain assets. So you can sort of understand those resources. And then for orphaned resources, these are resources that have no explicit permissions grants. So you may need specific access controls directly added to those resources. We also have overprivileged. So these are principals with excessive permissions across the environment. So sort of a way to understand who has access to what and if they actually need access to that environment. And then the final component is secret scopes. These could be very dangerous if you don't audit them correctly. Who has access to your secret scopes? Should they actually have read or write access on your secrets? So this is sort of an easy way to understand it. Right now, I only have one secret scope that's configured on my environment, and the only one that has access is my service principal. Yeah, this is sort of a baseline way to understand at a high level who has access to your entire Databricks environment.
Yeah, it's very easy. I mean, you can deploy it quickly.
Yep.
The UI is very intuitive. I don't think no one can get lost. The titles are very explicit. You know, like how to understand who, like which person has permissions, which permissions, how to or remove people that are, for example, left the company because for one or many reasons people are this company is not using SSO, so they still have
Yep.
access. It's the right time to get rid of this person and make sure, because sometimes, and this is something very important, if a resource is assigned to a person who left the company, in case that account is deactivated, this resource may no longer work. So that's why, again, it's just a best practice. Make sure to assign service principals to assets, not users. Make sure that even if this person leaves, your asset or your job or whatever feature will still be working.
Exactly. Yeah. And yeah, I think it's a sort of an easy way to understand at a high level, like how your environment's configured. Like most of these things, admins can write a bunch of complex SQL queries, go to the UC catalogs and find these things, but there's not like a easy one solution way to sort of understand your full permissions landscape. And that's sort of what permissions analysis aims to solve through a Databricks app, make it a lot easier for your security teams to operate.
That's perfect. Thank you so much,
Yep.
Shril.
Yeah.
Thank you for your amazing presentation, and the tool is
Definitely.
just insane. All the links in the description of this video. Make sure to deploy it, and if you have any questions, please reach out to Shril or the team. We're gonna leave the contact near the links. Thank you,
Awesome.
Shril.
Thanks so much, Yusuf. Yep. Really appreciate it. Thanks for having me, Yusuf.
No problem.
In Lake Cow. Rise data seas, lake flow, streams the flow. Iceberg and Delta Lake, tables aglow. Unity catalog governs lake base, OLT base strong. Ginny text to SQL mosaic and KI prolongs. Yusuf and